different. Huh. Well, yeah, I don't feel like it. Hmm. Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna do the video here. I had something to say specifically just about the fact that, I noticed that a lot of the time on some types of channels, people always talk about hitting the wall and things of that nature for women. Nobody ever really talked about this, about both genders. This will probably ruffle a couple feathers, honestly, because I'm going to talk about it most honestly on both levels, honestly. But one thing I find really weird is that men always on those certain channels that talk about youthful women with older men, basically kind of like those red pillars, but some of them aren't red pillars. Some of them are just, I don't know, just different types of people. People who have a fantasy about younger people, I guess you could say. And if you like a certain thing, you want to justify why you like it, which is silly. For me, I always wondered, why do I have to explain why I like 20-year-old men? I never even really thought there was an explanation for it, but then I found out it actually was an explanation to why 20-year-old and 19-year-old men are more attractive than older men. And that's because of the thing nobody talks about. Nobody ever talks about how men are more likely to peak at younger ages than women. That's why it's so weird that these same men will talk about youthfulness playing a part in attractiveness for women, but never bringing it up for men. When men, youth plays a big part in their attractiveness, ability, and their testosterone level. Their testosterone levels will peak at 20. A woman's estrogen levels will peak at mid-20s to late 20s. You tell me who peaks like men favor go in their favor. I mean, if it went in their favor because you peak younger, you start dropping at 21 while we're still headed upward. This is why, as a woman in my mid-20s, it's always annoying with men who are in their mid-20s because they're on their way down. They've been going down in testosterone for 5 years while I'm in my peak. So for me, it's like being in my mid-20s, and I'm like men who are like 25, 26, 27, they're already headed down. Well, I'm still in my prime. It's annoying because it's like hormonally, sometimes I feel like I don't really match with these people, which makes sense. I mean, if your testosterone has been going down for 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, and a woman's estrogen has been at its peak at this time period, then I don't understand why you're saying youth is in your favor. To me, I think youth is in men's favor only when they're like 20, maybe. But youth, for us, doesn't really make us like age poorly. Like, men basically age poorly. And this is why my mother always said about men in their 30s that they were basically man down. And she said that as a 40-year-old woman in her 40s, and she would say this. She's still in her 40s, but she was kind of like in her early to mid 40s at the time. And I always, 30-year-olds don't seem too attractive. I thought maybe it was just, but she had a point. Because after 30, a man goes down in testosterone 1%, 1% every year, period. So basically, when a man is 38, 39, he's basically 10% or more less of a man than he was when he was 20. Because he was already gradually going down between 20 and 30. And then he took a 9% dive from his manhood from 30 to 39. So that's why I never understood the term where men think that they age well when biologically they don't. And they'll talk about a ticking fertility clock, but for them, the less testosterone they have, the less fertile they are. So it's like if you're less fertile, your fertility is going down as well. Being completely honest, who's more fertile? A 25-year-old man or a 25-year-old woman? By hormones alone, you can say, oh, a 25-year-old woman. A 25-year-old man is going downward. Women at 30 aren't even hormonally going as down hormonally as men are. That's why they say after 35, the risk for women when they get pregnant. But before that point, they're still much close to their peak. Now they're on a way downward after 30, but like I said, you're coming off of a peak because 30 is right after the peak for women. 30 for a man is 10 years away from his peak. He's been gradually going down in his masculinity for 10 years by 30. So that's why now I feel like I'm not in the wrong here. My preference is men who are 20. And it makes sense now. I like testosterone. I like a real man. And it just explains a lot about me that I thought was just a personal thing about me that I could not understand why I preferred men that were 20. Now I get it. They literally do have a hormonal balance that is more ideal for me because I need a man who has a lot of testosterone. A lot of men can't meet that mark when they are other ages. Sure, men who have very high testosterone levels at that age might be able to make it at 25. That's why sometimes I'm attracted to men that are 25, but not as strongly as a man who's 20. So that's just all my thoughts on this. It's just like, if we're really talking about science, I think men age worse than women because men's testosterone goes lower at 20, while a woman is peaking in estrogen in her mid-20s and her late 20s. People always try and say women are at their peak at 18, yet teen pregnancy is it's a very complicated situation. A lot of people have lots of complications in teen pregnancy. Rather than the mid 20s and upper 20s, there's more success. And there's more fertility in those age ranges as well for women. That's because our hormones are at our peak at this point. While men, their hormones are on the downside. So now, as a mid 20-year-old woman in her peak, I understand why I want a man in his peak at 20. And I think that the whole thing of younger woman and older man is just a societal desire that some men want, understandably, because younger people are more attractive than older people. But trying to justify it is just silly. So I'm going to be done with this video. Thank you for listening. Bye.